This goes back to that term, GPU rich or GPU poor. If you're GPU rich because you're being backed by VC, yeah, you can spend all the money you want because it's not your money you're spending. But if you're a company that has a revenue and expenses, then you don't have an infinite budget.
Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. My name's Jeff. I'm here with Peter Lin. Practical AI is brought to you by Pocket AI.
Pocket AI is a visualization tool that allows you to prune your models without any loss in accuracy. Visualizing your model weights is like a brain surgeon being able to find individual neurons and removing them without harm to the brain. Similarly, Pocket AI allows you to analyze and prune the weights in your model. Using Pocket AI, we have proven we can select the right backbone model, get that model to actually work, make that model more stable, increase a model's accuracy, decrease the size of a model by up to 60%, and put smaller models into production for half the cost. Finally, you can be done with endless brute force training and new model trials. Pocket AI allows you to perform brain surgery on your existing models, making them not only smaller, but better.
Peter, today we wanted to hit an extension of what we were talking about last time on token spend. But before we do that, I wanted to bring up a story that surprised you and me, and it has SpaceX renting its entire data centers to Anthropic and Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah. So that number seems kind of made up and fake to me. Because this is really the XAI data center in Memphis, and they have 250,000 GPUs. And the reason why XAI folded into SpaceX because they ran out of money. So that's why that deal happened. And because Elon owns both of them, so he kind of did a financial switcheroo and he just like put it into SpaceX, and he figured, well, now I can do an IPO to get more money because the whole LLM thing is a huge money pit. So now he's shopping around his GPUs to rent to people.
Okay, so you kind of said something there that you said you don't necessarily believe that number is real. 920
No,
million a month.
yeah, 900. Let's say $1 billion a month.
$1 billion a month for 110,000 GPUs, CPUs, and memory or whatever. And farther down the article, it says that Anthropic is already renting 220,000 NVIDIA, GPUs from SpaceX. So this is essentially across maybe 2 or 3 data centers, 330.
Well, no, it's only one. It's only the Colossus data center.
Oh, it is the one, but it's still a
It's the one.
lot of GPUs that they're renting out now. But you don't believe the number.
No, that number seems fake to me for a couple of reasons. One, the number of GPUs available is finite, right? So they originally set up 250,000 GPUs, which they're using for XAI, but then they ended up needing money, so then they rented out to other people. So the question is, how quickly can they add another 110,000? Well, one, you got to expand the data center, but the more important thing is they're currently using these generators that are illegal. They're unlicensed by the EPA and by the local government. And that's because the local power can't provide enough power to actually run the whole entire Colossus data center.
Okay. So XAI now rolled into SpaceX. So SpaceX AI is running power illegally
Yeah.
or legally illegal, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't address the fact that Google allegedly is renting this for $1 billion a month.
Right. So there's that funny circular financing thing that's been happening this year with the whole AI world.
So you think they're getting something out of it? Like they're not actually going to pay that. They're going to get some free satellites or something like that.
So there's obviously some circular thing happening. So like you and I aren't involved. We don't have any clue because we're not in the in world, whatever circular financing that they're doing. But clearly, if Google is spending $3 billion across all their data centers for all the electricity, they can't be spending $1 billion just to rent GPUs. That doesn't make sense per month, right? That's per month versus $3 billion per year for all the data centers that Google currently has.
Okay. Yeah, so the math does seem off. So it's either circular financing or you think that this will intentionally fall apart.
Yeah.
By the time it comes around, which is probably fraudulent if you're going into an IPO and all of a sudden you're billion a month turns into zero. One other question though, AI is still coming out with new versions. Where are they training their models now?
Well, so they're still training on Colossus.
Okay, they are.
Yeah.
Is this becoming like the early days of Amazon, where it's like you build out this giant data center, but you're not training all the time, so you have to rent the space out to other people?
I think originally they were training all the time.
Okay.
From so when they first built it, it was just so they could train models. But pretty soon when they started falling behind, and then I think 3 months ago, the lead team, the core team left. So the brain drain happened already, which means that they're probably not doing as well as people think they are, because there's a lag between the top talent leaving and then the next release coming out. So that's probably why they're renting out, because they actually can't proceed and keep advancing without the top talent.
So expect Grok to not do as well as Claude is the moral of the story, and expect this deal to fall apart. Okay, let's move on to kind of our main topic, and that is Sam Altman and tokens. So Sam, some people are saying he may have accidentally kind of said this out loud, but essentially he says that his clients are not happy with the fact that they're spending their entire AI budget in the first 4 months. And he said that went from, at the beginning of the year, an issue that never came up to all of a sudden a huge issue. This seems to have broken the internet a little bit, because the story is traveling around a lot. It seems like it has some big implications.
Yeah, it does. Well, mainly because for the last year, or actually probably 2 years, NVIDIA has been pushing everyone to use their hardware and to spend more tokens. And famously, Jensen said, "I'd be concerned if my $500,000 salary employee isn't using $250,000 in tokens every month," right? So that article went out, I think, last year, and this year it's been going around. And so a lot of people are like, "Oh, okay, if he says that, then I should be using more tokens." And now that people use more tokens, they're realizing, like, "Oh, wait a minute, we're burning through our budget in 3 months," which is why Microsoft also canceled their Anthropic subscription, because it was getting too expensive.
Yeah, and it's one thing for, a company to make a decision that they need to see more value out of this sort of relationship with tokens. But it's another thing for companies to realize that other companies have the same issue. Because then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, it's not just me.
Yeah.
I am not the only one in the room that thinks they're crazy, that my leaderboard has the person who's spending the most tokens,
Yeah.
when maybe my leaderboard should be inverted.
It's going to happen because it's been subsidized. So last week we talked about the token price index, how it's been artificially low because it's subsidized. And now that the prices are going up, people are realizing, oh, wait a minute, like I'm actually burning through my budget. And this goes back to that term, GPU rich or GPU poor. If you're GPU rich because you're being backed by VC, yeah, you can spend all the money you want because it's not your money you're spending. But if you're a company that has a revenue and expenses, then you don't have an infinite budget.
So we have heard the phrase token maxing and some of these other token consumption slang come out, but recently one came out called token diet. Tell us a little bit about the token diet mentality now.
Well, so the what I'm seeing in kind of the developer world is people are starting to realize, oh, wait a minute, like I can't get my work done now because I'm burning through all my premium tokens. So in my mind, I thought, okay, well, now you need to go on a diet. So I thought of the term token diet because everyone up to this point have been writing these prompt templates that are like hundreds to thousands of lines long, which is great because you're telling the LM, do this and don't do that. Here's all my instructions. Be super explicit, which is nice. But every line of text you put into your prompt template is more tokens. And if you have a 4,000 line prompt template, that's a lot of tokens. And every time you feed it to your chat or your LLM, it's doing this multiple times. And so you're not just increasing your token usage by 2x, it's exponential. And the longer it thinks, the number of tokens you're using is exponentially higher. So that means that now you can't just blindly go, oh, I'm going to make a template for my prompt that's 2,000 lines on, because you're going to blow through your budget very quickly. And so now you have to be more specific and more targeted.
Old time programmers used to kind of marvel at prior programmers' code, right? Because the code was super efficient because it was running on hardware that couldn't handle any extension, any error, any any fluff, any bloat, nothing. So as GPU and data and storage and memory, all that stuff sort of grew, stuff got sloppier. It
Yeah.
sounds like we're in kind of the reverse pattern where basically people can prompt whatever they want. They have no restrictions. Everything's subsidized. Everything is basically free. And they're going to have to go backwards and get super efficient and figure out how to reduce their token usage.
Yeah, no, they're gonna have to go to not a general model now, to a specific model that's small, and then have smaller templates and smaller prompts that do very specific thing, so that you're not using a general purpose LLM to do everything. You're gonna pick like, this model is good at math, this model is good at this. So I don't need to worry about other things because it's just a math model or it's just a language model for programming. And then you don't have to worry about all the other things that it can hallucinate.
Okay, so Peter, the question then is, how does OpenAI solve if they're trying to get better efficiency in their model? So how do they solve the efficiency problem? And then how does the end user, solve their token usage issue?
So for the end user, the option is run models locally, either in your own data center, on your own computers, or on your actual developer system, which means you're going to go and use the Qwens, the DeepSeeks, the open source models. And for OpenAI, if they haven't already started to steal and borrow from DeepSeek, then it's already too late. So hopefully they started to borrow from them last year. If they didn't, then they made a mistake.
And DeepSeek has a different architecture or architecture improvements that basically reduce the spend quite a bit,
Yes, yeah, by 10x. Yep.
which is huge. Okay. And just from a user perspective, walk us through a realistic scenario. What size system do you need? Which model would you download? How many models do you need?
So you can run any model that's less than, I would say, 20 billion on a nice Mac. So that's all you need. You need a nice MacBook and then run a model that's between 20 and 1 billion parameters.
Okay. 20 billion parameters and
Yeah,
100 billion. Okay.
between 20
And
and 1. So 1 to 20 billion.
1 to 12. Okay. And then is that the DeepSeek small? Is it the Qwen small? Like, which one is it?
There's several versions of small from DeepSeek and Qwen that are all under 80 billion. Yeah.
Okay. And then is it essentially big enough or have enough in it that you could do math, you can do
Oh, yeah.
writing, it does all that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, there it is. That's the answer to Sam's problem. Don't use Anthropic or OpenAI or any of it.
Yeah. Just download DeepSeek and run it.
Got it. It sounds like he should do the same thing as well. Just
Yeah.
download DeepSeek and run it behind the scenes. Okay. Awesome. Good work, Peter. Thanks for the discussion. If you have questions, let us know. You can also follow us on Spotify. We're there, and you can listen to these episodes instead of watching them. All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later.